Now we're moving on to the second stage in developing the painting of the crew working on a boat, fixing it, repairing it, painting it, regular maintenance, whatever. The scene was where we found this boat after the rain, and a few guys were working on it to fix it up, as it were, make it seaworthy or take off some of the rust. And we added a puddle, we eliminated some of the background. This stage we're adding more darks, more definition, trying to refine the image. So you can tell I'm spending some time to develop the reflections into the puddle and give a feeling of a day that has been wet or is still wet, and so the reflections are strong. They also have a nice vertical aspect to them, which adds to the drama of the piece. The boat itself is up on a rigging, so we see the little masts, the little supports coming down off of the bottom of the boat and also being reflected in the puddle. Here we're adding the reflection of the shack and deepening that to give it a feeling of wetness. Now we're going to start to add a few more darks underneath the hull where there's a real focal point, into the upper cabin where we see a few windows, some small darks to help carry the eye upward, and thinking about the edges of the puddle. If we were painting a dark puddle, we would probably use light edges, a very skinny light edge. Since our puddle is lighter on a dark surface, we define the edges with a little bit of dark. As I'm going along, I realize the need to kind of break up this big dark. So I take a little water in my brush, pass it through, and then I do a lift. I lift some of the pigment so that I get a break in the reflection. This helps to make it less imposing and draw less attention to it. At this point, we're starting to add the figures. The figures are of a small crew, 3 people, 3 guys. They're in their wet gear. In other words, they have some suspenders and these orange suits, which we saw on this day. And they added a nice touch of color, added a contrast to all the grays that we were seeing. So I'm adding the figures, one on a ladder, one on the boat, and one on the ground, trying to create what I would consider a natural arrangement. It looks like the 2 on the boat are working out a problem where the one on the ground is shouting out orders or asking if they want some lunch or whatever. In general, when we're using figures, their placement becomes important. If we had them all 3 on the boat, could be interesting. I think putting one on the ground and a couple on the boat creates a little more of an interesting feeling, a little more of an interesting composition. At this point, we're touching up the colors. Here's our original scene and the final painting, and that's the tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it.